Facebook Live. I'm Marcia Boswell with Kansas Wheat, and right now we are in Ottawa County, Kansas, and we are here with Joe and Geena Kejr, who farm in Saline County, Ottawa County, and a little bit in McPherson. So, Joe, could you tell us a little bit about this field that you're harvesting right now?
Yeah, so this field's about 200 acres. It was in corn last year, and after the corn was harvested, we planted it to wheat. The variety here is Everest, and we would have put fungicide on this field, and anyway, it went this year from a real dry year to a real wet year, and so we're glad we put the fungicide on.
And why would you apply a fungicide? What does that do to help the crop?
Well, so when it's damp like that, there's rust becomes an issue, which kind of can basically kill the flag leaf. And if that happens, then you get the head doesn't feel right. You have low test weights and other issues. So, yeah, that's why we would do that.
Okay, and Everest is a variety that was developed by Kansas State University. It's marketed through Kansas Wheat Alliance. So can you tell me a little bit about how you chose that variety for this location and what goes into choosing varieties?
Yeah, so we've planted a fair amount of Everest over the last several years, so it's kind of had a proven track record for us, and so it was just one that we were going to pick. A little bit it was the seed that you could get also in last year, but in the end it's just been a good variety for us.
Do you typically plant the same variety on all your acres, or do you mix that up a little bit?
Oh, we change that a little bit every year. We'll plant probably at least 3 or 4 different varieties. Okay.
And what different things do you look at when you're choosing those varieties? Is there a book you look at, or?
Yeah, so you'll look at kind of the last year's or the year you're in, yield report from county extension and other places to kind of see what has done well and what hasn't. And in some cases you want to look several years back just to make sure that it wasn't a fluke that year that it did good, that it's had a history of being good.
So how is Everest comparing this year on this field to maybe whatever you had on this field last year? And what different changes were there in the growing conditions from last year to this year?
Yeah, actually, so this year again was corn right before this, so it wouldn't have been in wheat. Strangely enough, the last 2 years here were about the same. We went kind of late winter was dry, and early spring turned off wet, just about when you thought the crop was dead. It starts raining, and so we had a real wet period there, and now it's turned off dry again, and today was in the low 100s, so I guess we got the harvest weather to finish it up.
So what kind of moisture levels are you seeing on the crop that you're cutting?
Yeah, so currently the loads going in have been a lot in the probably 9 to 11 moisture, which for us is real dry. Up to about the middle of the beginning of the week, there were still some fields we had a little bit moisture. I mean, the grain hadn't quite dried down yet, which is kind of hard to believe with this kind of temperature. But now it seems like it's all dry, and we're able to just cut through any field we come to.
So how long does it take you from when you start cutting wheat until you're done cutting wheat, usually?
Well, 10 days, 2 weeks.
Okay,
is
and
probably a common amount.
And we can see in this field right now you're running 4 combines. So do you do that typically throughout harvest?
Yeah, we try to run all 4 through the harvest. This year it was maybe a little longer harvest because we started out and we'd find one field that was real dry, and then you would find another field right next to it that was still too wet, so you couldn't harvest that one. So you'd go looking and find a field that was a ways off that was dry, and so we did a lot of driving on the
Moving
roads.
around.
Yeah, which has taken a little extra time this year.
So, like I mentioned, there are 4 combines and a couple of grain carts and some semis here at this field. Who are the people that are running that equipment? Is that people you've hired, or can you talk a little bit about who all helps you during harvest?
Yeah, so family is a big part of the harvest, and it's just something that you kind of look forward to. Even those that aren't always here on the farm on a daily basis, they'll show up to help out for the harvest. On the combine specifically, I have my son, which we have 3 kids, so the middle one's a son, and he's actually came back in farming, and he's running one today, and then 2 of my daughters are running 2 of them, and then a brother is running the 4th one.
So that really is a family operation that you've got going on there. And can you tell us a little bit about your family's history with the farm? Yeah, the combine's a little bit loud right here, but can you just can you tell us, is this something that your family's been involved in for a long time?
Yeah, so my grandpa would have started farming in the Dorrance-Wilson area, and so I guess you would say we're kind of the 4th generation farm, and we actually live in the home that I grew up in, and so yeah, definitely it's a family operation, and yeah, has been a history of our family farming.
So Geena, can you talk a little bit about what your role is during harvest and during the rest of the year?
Well, during wheat harvest, I definitely get to be one of those gopher people and help move field to field and pull a header. But also my big role is to help get the guys fed at night. We pack a cooler for lunch for noon, and then try and have supper out to the field in between 6 and 7, and then trade off and keep those machines rolling so we can get the harvest in. And I think we probably, counting the 5th generation of our generation farm, we feed about 20 people a night and rotate them through to get everyone fed and back out onto their equipment to keep rolling. So then also, when we're trading out, I shift out the grain cart drivers so they get to eat, and so I guess that's part of my role while harvest is going on in wheat harvest.
And today you guys did have an international group that was here visiting your farm and riding in the combine and all that. Can you talk a little bit about the different groups that have been out to your farm and why you feel it's important to host groups like that?
It is fun to have a lot of different people out. Today it was the International Grains program. So they were here, and so that represented South Africa and Nigeria were the people that came today. Last year, though, we had the National Festival of Breads come to our farm, and they usually get to come out to the harvest field. Last year it was wet, and so we showed some pictures, but they got to see our equipment and just get to be a part of hearing the story and know that farming really is a family affair. Last year we also had the grains program the milling program come out to the field, and we also had a Congo connection come out last year. So we just really try and tell the farm story to help others understand what hard work we put into it, and hope that they appreciate all of that and know that we care about what we're doing, and we try and make everything safe for the consumers, and it's just to tell the story.
Thanks. We mentioned Should I just wait a minute here while this combine passes us because it's pretty loud? Okay, we mentioned that you used a fungicide on this field right here, but also do you use pesticides or herbicides or any other kind of chemicals on your fields? And if you do, can you tell us why you choose to use chemicals, and also how you know that that chemical is not in the food that is sent to the elevator, or the grain that's sent to the elevator?
Yeah, so we will put some chemical on to keep the fields clean so that we're not sending weeds and other contaminants like that to the elevator. We would do that by the label, so it's kind of an approved process, and we follow those approval processes. And most definitely we want to have a safe product. I mean, it's something we're passionate about. We eat the food, we care about what we're doing, and again, we are cautious about how we go about that.
Okay, great.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. We saw someone earlier ask where we are, and yet again, we are in Ottawa County. So feel free to ask any questions if you've got any for a farmer.
And we have also just gotten a couple of comments that I'll share with you guys. Tarian Yao would like to ride in a combine, so maybe they can come out to the field sometime. And then a hello from Bonner's Ferry in Idaho. So somebody in Idaho watching.
Well, following up on that, we're glad to give rides. We were harvesting north of Salina the other day, and some different individuals were taking pictures, and one was taking pictures for a while, and so my son went over and talked to him and asked, hey, do you want to ride in a combine? He said, yeah, I'd like to do that. So he hopped in with me and rode for about an hour there, and we talked about wheat harvesting. He'd helped a farmer in his younger years, a long time ago, and so it was kind of fun to be able to help share the story, what's the same and what's changed in agriculture there.
That's great. I'm glad he went up and talked to him and they got that opportunity.
A funnier story you can tell about.
Well, about a night before that night, there was another group kind of taking some pictures, and I stopped and talked to the young mom, and I said, well, would you like me to take you out in the field so you can get better pictures? And she goes, that would be great. And she had like a 4-year-old son in the car, and I go, would he like to ride in a combine? And she goes, oh, I bet he would love it. And so I put him in with our daughter, Michelle, and the first thing out of his mouth when he got in with Michelle is, best day ever. So it's fun to share our story with other people.
Yeah, the combine is kind of rolling by, so it might be a little bit hard to hear, but we did have a question. How do you get the line so straight in the field?
Yeah, so the bottom line is GPS. We're using auto steer in the combines. The technology helps us be the most efficient we can be, taking a full swath all the time, and just the accuracy we like about that it brings to the table. And yeah, we will plant with the GPS, so we're using that when we plant. We're using that when we when we spray the fields, putting fertilizer on, and it helps us be more accurate in all parts of the operation.
You want to talk a little bit about some other crops that you plant as well throughout the year?
Yeah, so we're a no-till operation, and so we will plant wheat, and then we will plant. So that's our summer harvest here. In the spring, we will plant corn, soybeans, sorghum or milo, you might call it, and we have that kind of in our rotation.
All right, well, I think our battery on the drone is getting a little bit low, so I think we are gonna have to bring it back home. But thank you so much to the Kejrs for joining us today, and thanks for watching. And if you have any other questions, feel free to leave some in the comments, and we will definitely monitor those and get back to you. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.